Hey everybody, I'm live. I'm painting up miniatures right now. I'm going to be working on a Were-crocodile. I can show that to you right here. Let me see if I can get it to focus a little faster for you guys. It is a glorious piece from Reaper Miniatures. I've already primed this glorious miniature with the Army Painter's Army Green. I like that darker green because it actually matches kind of the colors of a crocodile a little better. I think it'll mean that I can paint this thing up a little faster, layer it up, and have a good time. From there, we're hoping to do some pretty exciting things with the color and some of the other stuff that goes with that. So bear with me as we get a few other things squared away here. Looks like, hold on a second here. Looks like our paint cam, our tabletop paint cam is giving us a little bit of trouble today. So we're gonna get that squared away and then we'll be back up and running here shortly here. Boom. Hopefully it'll connect up at this point. So let's see here. While I'm doing this, if you're in chat and you have a question, please type question in all caps. And we will do our best to make sure we get answers for your questions. We love answering questions about painting and talking more about what we do around here when we get these minis done. Let's see here. Why is our camera not operating today? It's going to be a challenge, I think. Oh, there we go. All right. Boom. All right. Looks like we're good. Okay. Excellent. So from here, we're just going to get us going a little bit. If you got any other questions at any point in time, feel free to ask. But we're just going to go right into painting up our minis here. I'm just going, ow, whoa, 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 bump the table. Watch that stuff. And while we're doing that, we're going to play a little bit of Vikings music for you from Tabletop Audio. And if you haven't checked them out, tabletopaudio.com. They do quite a bit of sound ambiances and quite a bit of music tracks for your TTRPG games. And they're sometimes great to paint to as well. So if you can, give them a check out. Let's see here. I'm kneading my Necrotic here, or not Necrotic, my sticky stuff that I put on top of my post for my miniatures. So as I do this, it will stick to the miniature very well. What's everybody up to today? Let's see here. We're awfully quiet tonight. This Were-crocodile should be pretty spectacular. I know I'm excited to paint it up. One of the things I like about the Army Painter is that every color that they have is color matched to their prime. Well, not every color. Every primer that they have has a color matched actual paint pot. So when we talk about Army Green, when we use Army Green primer, we have, well, an Army Green paint as well that we can use. So if I got any touch-ups, anything undercuts or anything like that, we can do those. So the first thing I'm going to do is just kind of check out to make sure if there's any undercuts or anything that I need to hit. I'm going to do that real quick. So starting off with the Army Green. And as always, we've been loading up the paint plans on our Patreon. So if you get a chance, check out the Games Tavern Patreon. It's just been linked in chat. When you see that, you'll be able to subscribe to the miniatures and models tier, and you can get all of the paint plans for every miniature that we paint on the show. Well, not every miniature we paint on the show, but most of them. We're still going through the catalog to well, make sure that we're tracking and getting those paint plans up for you from all the stuff we have painted. So bear with us as we continue to improve. And big thanks to Rose and Veritas23 for supporting us on our Patreon as well. So. Yep, there was a little bit of undercroft there that I missed in my haste to get this bad boy primed. I had to be careful priming it and warm up the space I was in so that it didn't get too cold, because if you prime and it's too cold, the primer it's going to be dry before it hits, or it'll freeze into primer flakes if it's too cold. Nothing's worse than primer snow, for most of us anyway. But the good news is we have the ability to make some quick adjustments for the undercroft here and just take care of whatever was missed in a quick and easy method. For this, I'm using the Army Painter's Regiment Brush. I love the scaly details on this particular model. It's a really well done piece. It looks like it was molded in 2 pieces, then assembled at the factory before sending out, because the head, actually 3 pieces, because the tail looks like it was separate as well, the long tail extension. So it's a larger model. It's really well done in terms of the detail on it, and its pose evokes action, which I appreciate on most miniatures that I work on. If he looked like he was napping, it probably wouldn't be as fun. I tend to prime in the base colors of what I'm working on. When I'm doing speed painting, the spray primers tend to actually work really well that way, unless I'm doing something that requires a lot of depth, like particularly centerpiece monsters, stuff like that, in which case I either prime in whites or blacks and then layer up from there. But for the most part, what I'm doing here is it's going to be a relatively quick paint job. So we go till about 8 o'clock, and then we're done for the night. So we may paint some extra stuff too while we're at it. All right, I think that covers all little gubbins I might have missed in the original paint primer pass. Got some stuff in the jaws here. Alright. And one of the things that we'll be doing to do this particular model is we're going to take a quick look at some of the pictures of actual alligators or crocodiles. I know they call this a Were-crocodile. I may actually do this a little more like an alligator. I think that fits what I'm going towards a little more. But I will take a look at both just to get colors and see what I like versus what I don't. I love that on this particular model, they made sure the tail had that flatness on both sides so that it swims through. It's still, I mean, for an alligator that happens to have arms and legs as opposed to just 4 sets of legs, it's anatomically, you know, matching up, generally speaking, to a crocodile or an alligator. I think this is going to turn out really well. The debate I'm having is how much the tail and or the tummy I'm going to do in a yellowy color, kind of like what the underside of an alligator might look like, versus the dark greens and speckled browns that are on the top. So let's see here. So again, if you're out there and you have questions, just reach out. I know we're looking pretty light today, but you know, we're happy every time somebody comes in and supports us. So for example, on the belly, I'm probably going to go with a basilisk brown. You may have seen something similar if you took a look at some of the very, very early stuff that we did, maybe even episode 1, I think. No, episode 2 and 3, we did a bunch of snake people, Nagara from Reaper, as well as Yanti from WizKids. We did them both in the same paint style. We used basilisk brown, I think, for the bellies on those as well. So, oopsie. There we go. Again, good rinse on the brush. In particular, there's no metallics on this model whatsoever, so I can go pretty quick. I don't have to switch out brushes or paints or even rinse cups. My only goal at this point is just to make sure that we do a good job on the paint. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tease out some of this basilisk brown, or basilisk brown, which is kind of an ochre yellow color, and I'm going to get the underside of said Were-croc or Were-gator, and I'm actually going to hold on to, probably shouldn't hit that just yet. I just hit that with the green. Let's go with the belly. So the belly of this beast needs to have a few coats. The dark green on this is going to go well, I think, but at the same time, you know, we've got to maintain a little bit of the look here. Get that color, and I see where the scales are haunched. And here, man, this croc or this gator has eaten good. You can tell. And even if my color doesn't coat really well the first pass, that's okay, because we do 2 thin coats. And you'll layer it up, which will add a little bit of depth to it too. That's okay. We're probably going to hit it with a either a dark green wash, or a dark wash, or a brown wash. Maybe mid-tone brown. I don't know yet. I can just see this thing speaking with a Cajun accent too. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. And if it's not your first time joining us, welcome back. And don't forget, you can use your Amazon Prime Gaming subscription to subscribe to the channel. And that subscription helps support us and let us know that you want to see more cool minis painted. Getting the undercroft of this thing is probably going to be the hardest part on this model, so better to get it done early. Sounds like some dogs are excited. I'm going to give that a moment to dry. And while that's drying, I am going to pull up a good look at, let's see here. I'm going to see what I can do to pull up a crocodile. Let's see what we can pull up here real quick. Interesting. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this with you guys so you guys can see what I'm looking at as well, so you can kind of get inside my process of how I do this stuff. Let me go here. Boom. Okay. And oh, okay. Actually, what we'll do is this. We're gonna make another cool thing here for you guys to see. And there we go. And so you guys are going to be able to see exactly what I'm looking at here. Ooh. There we go. So generally speaking, this is what I'm looking at right now on my browser, and you can see the lighter undertones of this particular crocodile all the way up to the neck, and then you can see the darker tones. But I also caught something I didn't see before, which was a whole lot of the undertones here. Also, you see some of it kind of sneak up along the tail, a little more around the cheeks of the beast as well, and I did not expect to see that. As I bounce back through some other images, let's see here. That's a pretty cool one. Again, you can see the spotting, so I'll have to add some spotting as well. I see the ridges. Let's see here. A hot crocodile hiding in plain sight. What else you got here? Oh, is that a rare albino gator? Oh, interesting. Interesting. Quite dangerous, these beasts, and they are very hungry and vicious. So what I see here is that they're a little bit lighter on the underbelly than I expected, and a little less yellow. So what I'm probably going to wind up doing is, well, probably lightening that up as I go. So first I'll go dark. That's okay. That'll be my dark tone, and then from there I'll work it further along the bottom here, and lighten it up as I go. So, again, excited to have everybody with us today. So if you have any questions about anything we're doing, just let me know, and we'll be happy to discuss with you guys here shortly. Always excited to see more people painting these days, and there has been a huge resurgence in miniatures painters. My goal here is to go really thin with the paint so I don't obscure any of that amazing detail that's on the belly of this thing, but also make sure that there's enough color And you do that by going with multiple thin coats, you know, 3, however many it takes, 2, 3. And it's working pretty good so far. Hey Naceris, glad to have you on with us tonight. Doing a Were-crocodile. I know you were just putting some amazing stuff on with your latest Space Marine painting. How the hell are you, man? Scales are hard, and my guy, good luck. Well, just painting an LIT. Oh, painting a lot. Okay, okay. Cool, man, cool. Definitely always good to see you on stream, my friend. Scales don't have to be hard. It's really a 3-step process, the way I do it, and I'm going to be showing it today. Essentially, you get your base colors on, which in my case was, 80% of it was just getting the right primer color correct. By selecting Army Green from the Army Painter, I already had that earthy crocodile dark green that I needed. And then after that, it's strictly a matter of, hold on a second here. It's strictly a matter of doing a wash and then a highlight. So this guy should paint up relatively quickly. Go to rinse, get some fresh paint loaded in there. %90 of the time I let the paint do the work for me, either via capillary action or its natural gravity and surface tension. There are times you pick out every little detail, but you'll find that most of what we do here in terms of painting to a high standard really doesn't require as much picking out all the details as you might think. Oh, no, I'll probably wind up doing a very, very light overbrush after the wash goes on. So it won't be like a complete dry brush, but it will be a very light brushing, so it picks up the higher edges of the individual scales. And you'll see what that looks like here in just a little bit. To do the eyes, I'm going to pick out the eyes real quick just because I have the time. I am going to use Desert Yellow. It's a lighter shade, or actually it's a kind of a combination. It's a little more brown than, say, Basilisk Brown is, whereas Basilisk Brown looks a little more yellow. Desert Yellow is a little more brown. And my goal with that is to have just enough in there that you can see the color is different in the eyes, and then I'll layer up from there if I need to. I may not need to, depending on how the wash comes out. Oopsie. Got a little too much too far. So just use another little brush to remove that. That's one of the little tricks of the trade. You can use another brush to remove fresh pigment faster than trying to wipe it. And the great news about this particular model is that they have the eyeball peaked up just enough where you can get to it and get in there with surface detail should you need it. There we go. And boom. That takes care of that. So what are you painting today, Naceris? Anything in particular? Are you painting with me today, or are you just watching? Yeah, are you painting? Yeah, Naceris, I asked if you were painting anything right now while we're on stream, or are you just hanging out? What are you painting right now? All right, let's see here. I'm going with a mid-brown wash on the green sections of the body, and I'm going to do this in a relatively brisk way with the Wargamer Monster Brush. It's got enough in there that I can load it up as a wash brush and really hit it good. My goal here is to get into all the crevices between the scales themselves to make it easier to highlight them later, and also to see what I'm working with. And to kind of give you an idea of how that's going to work is I'm going to just brush this over and over again until it goes into the crevices and tease it further and further in as I go. I'm going to start with one side, then the other side, then the middle, and then I'm going to work on the face. And I'm going to go a little slower on the face just because there's all that detail. Then, after the paint has dried on the underbelly, I'll hit the underbelly with the same. Then at the end of that, we'll have a long period where we're waiting for the wash to dry, and I'll talk to you guys a little bit more on some other things I'm working on here. Okay, now time to get the other side. You still working on that NMM, huh? That non-metallic metal? Did you ever look up any of that stuff on rendering that I mentioned? Because I saw your progress. You're looking pretty good. Yeah, it was super helpful. I'm working on the technique now since I'm super unfamiliar with glazing. It really helped with understanding where the shine goes. Yeah. Hey, Chav Hunter 88 or 86, sorry. Good to see you again, man. How the hell are you? Hope you're doing well. As to Nacera's, yeah, I mean, lighting and knowing where the object or the light source is coming from is huge when it comes to determining the reflectivity of metals and rendering that look. Okay, now I've got that done. I'm going to be working the center side. I got both sides done. Working the center here with the remainder of the wash. And I'm making sure, if in the case of my brush strokes, that I'm going over everything to make sure if there's any air bubbles that I'm removing those as well, because you don't want any air bubbles when you're doing this. Hitting the head here now. Get that wash in those wrinkly belly areas. And now the underside. The tail, it's really all about getting it in the crevice for all the different segmentations. Often I find it's best to just go backwards on the tails when we do that, because that forces it kind of into those segments a little better. And then laterally hit it again. Again, I'm using the capillary action of the wash to get it into those crevices as I work it. And one side is almost dry while the other side is pretty close. There we go. All right, we're going to let that dry for a moment. Chev Hunter 86, sorry, I just saw what you wrote there. It's a Were-crocodile from Reaper Minis. It's a fantastic piece. We're going to be putting the paint plan up for it up on the Patreon as well, so that people can see how to paint it the same way we do, but we're also talking anyone who's watching through the paint plan as well. So we started with the Army Painter Primer with Army Green. Then we hit the underside of the miniature with Basilisk Brown, to kind of create this yellowy effect that we're then going to lighten up a little bit. And then after that, we then touched up some areas with the Army Painter's Army Green, just to make sure any spots that maybe didn't get hit quite right with the primer matches up. The great part about the Army Painter primers is they have a corresponding paint that also matches. Color matched exactly, so you have no color gradient that's mismatched. And then after that, we just hit it with a mid-tone brown or a mid-brown wash that gives us a nice brown color that will soak into those scales, really pick them out, and then from there we'll hit it with a slightly lighter green. I was debating Venom Worm, but Venom Worm looks a little darker than I really want to go with, so I'm probably going to go with Commando Green. Give that a good shake while we wait here. Then I may do some touch-ups with Necrotic Flesh, which is green with a little hint of white in there, and then I'll also work on the tongues with a variety of purples and pinks, maybe a Warlock purple as well for some of that. And then for the underbelly, I'm probably going to hit it with, where is it? Moon Dust, which is a really brighter yellow color. Just a hint of Moon Dust. Just a hint to pick up those higher edges. Thanks a lot for coming out to support, guys. Really appreciate it. Miss having you on the streams on a regular basis the last couple weeks, but I think Shav Hunter 86, you've been checking out some of our live streams too, which has been pretty cool to see you there. I'm going to give this a minute to dry. Yeah, Naceris, no doubt, no doubt. The snow's probably not made it easy on you too. You know, are you still doing installs and stuff like that? One of the things you learn about washes is you do not want to paint a wash while it's wet. It will wreck your day. So. Arrgh. That's the worst, buddy. That's the worst. So, ooh. Teasing some wash here just a little bit, just to make sure it doesn't pool incorrectly on the Mini. Looks like we're doing right. Alrighty. Again, if you like what we're doing, please tell us what you like the most, and if you can, be sure and follow us on social media at Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the Games Tavern in every case. It is drying quite quickly. I may do a thing here. I may do a little cheat here. Big thanks to Richard from Tech Crew, one of our tech goblins. Amazing, brilliant guy. Understands technical stuff like nobody's business. He made me a USB powered cool fan that allows me to dry miniatures more quickly. So, plug this bad boy in, and then proceed to dry it quickly. Provided I can operate a USB slot. All right, we're just gonna let this magic work right here. By the way, it's not fast enough to actually hurt my finger if I touch it, so it's completely safe. But thanks to Richard for making this for us and allowing this to occur, which will help us accelerate when we're painting minis here on stream. Actually, what I'll do is I'll pull it from here. Just put her down there and give her some time. Yeah, sometimes to make a miniature look good, the best thing is not to fuss with it. I gotta agree. This is one of those situations where it's just real easy to let the miniature dry naturally. A little help with a fan, and just go from there. I'm going to switch over to some pirate music, see if that sounds any cooler today. This fan is already working wonders. Oh, hey, Aberana. How the hell are you? Good to see you on today. We're joined by Naceris and Chev186, it looks like, and a few other people. Glad to see you on here. I am painting a Were-crocodile. We've just done a wash on it. And as exciting as that is, you're watching a wash dry right now. I'm accelerating that with a fan, but I love having you guys with me today. The fan is working really well over here, so just so you guys can see it. While I'm at it, I'll put this in front of the paint cam, and let's see here. There you go. The mini cam is there. Maybe you guys can see some of the wash effect as the fan does its magic as well, or not. Let's see if this works. There we go. It's looking pretty ugly right now. It will look a lot better once we add the highlights. But you can see how the scales are starting to show a lot more with the wash in place and drying. Naceris, you would watch paint dry with anyone else? Oh, thanks, man. Well, I've got a mountain of zombies I still have to paint, and I'll probably do those off stream just because batch painting 30 or 40 zombies are probably not as exciting. But we'll see what we can get done with that. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things as we go. Seeing you guys in chat just warms my heart. What brushes are you guys using these days? Always excited to hear whatever everybody else is using right now. Naceris lives and dies by Army Painter. Alright, cool. I use the Army Painter a lot for everything. It works pretty good for me as well. Big fan of the Army Painter. So. But it's like tools in the toolbox for me, you know what I mean? So like when I'm doing different painting, I'll use different paints based on the model that I'm working on or whatever else I'm doing. So kind of a critical factor is the right tools for the job. But the Army Painter, you know, pound for pound, dollar for dollar, gives me the most value for that across the widest spectrum. And then from there you can get into the other stuff. Various different people have certain technical paints that each have their own unique you know, thing that they do, and they're each pretty cool. It just depends on what you're trying to do. Let's see here. We're getting there. We're making quick progress. Probably get this one done on stream today. Again, thanks for the support, guys. Really excited to have you guys here. Remember, you can catch this on YouTube as well, about 48 hours later. Typically with all the same goodies that you saw on the show. So mostly unedited, I think. So let's see here. I definitely have some cheaper brushes that have been phenomenal. I just don't treat my brushes with as much care as I should, and I think Army Painter are the most forgiving. You know, so there's a couple things about Army Painter brushes that I really like. One, all their natural follicles are golden sable, or yeah, golden sable, and the sable brushes are amazing. Their non-natural brushes are very high-end synthetics, but almost every brush that they make, with only a few exceptions, are very specifically a sable brush. So it's a top quality tier 1 hair follicle. From there, I use something called brush cleaner, which I'll bring it up here so you guys can see it. That's brush cleaner. The Master's brush cleaner and preserver. Typically after the show is over, when you guys don't see it, I'll be cleaning my brushes. But you know what, I got a few minutes, and while we're waiting for this to go, so I've already got some water in there. You can see where I've done some brush work. So I'll just take this brush right here, this Wargamer detail brush, for example. Just put a little water in there, and I just slather it around inside it. What I'm doing is I'm getting the soap all the way in, up to the fairing and all the way down. And one of the things you don't want to do is get paint in the fairing of your brush, because it will dry up there and it's very hard to get out. By putting brush soap in there early on, it helps keep that from happening. This also renews and adds oils back onto the follicle itself of all the little hairs on the brush. So for your natural hair brushes, this is a fantastic way to rejuvenate the hairs in those and get them going. So after I've gotten them brush cleaned really good, from there, hold on one second here. I just realized you guys couldn't see that. You guys didn't say a thing. So let me do this again. So from there, I just get the soap in here real good and run it through and get it all twisted all up in there. Then from there, you know, brush off any excess, because waste not, want not, right? From there, I then take it and I give it a really good rinse in my rinse cup. A really good rinse. I then use the brush towel to clean the brush, and I rotate it all the way through, repoint the brush, and then as I give it a second rinse. I always give it 2 rinses at least, and then from there I run it through. And you'll find your brushes will last for years this way if you take good care of them. The hair follicles will look good, they'll feel good, they'll paint well, they'll point well. Very important that your brush points well, and you can go from there. And what I try to do is I get it in there, and then sometimes I even take my fingers and rub it through there, just to get it into every little nook and cranny in those brushes. I find that is huge on getting paint out, and it makes a difference in the brush quality and the pointing of the brush long term. Brushes that may not have lasted even a full year with me before, I've had these brushes. I think I bought this entire set 4 years ago almost, so a long time. You abuse your brushes and you get mad when you have to use more. Well, you know, maybe you could stop abusing those brushes. You know, it's something you can do in this era. So, you know, you're gonna have moments where you have a brush that winds up becoming your dry brush or your beat-on brush, and I have a few of those around here. Like, without showing anything off, whoops. This is one of those brushes. It doesn't matter what I do to this brush. I got paint in the fairing and I messed it up. But it's good for certain applications, so I keep it around. I keep it handy. But for the most part, you know, most of my brushes last a long, long time. I mean, I've got 1 cup, 2 cup, 3 cups full of brushes over here, all completely specific and focused for their tasks at hand, and at least 2 different companies' products. So 3 different companies' brushes. So, but I'm using 90% of the time I'm using the Army Painter brushes, and like you can see, I've used this brush so many times that you can't even see most of the wording and other stuff on it. And that's, you know, that's what happens when you take good care of your brush. Yeah. Oops, I'm gonna rinse this a second time. I forgot to do that. There we go. All right. Let's take a look at our mini cam here. It looks like our mini is dried. I'm going to show this, plant it on here real quick here so you guys can see. So you can see very, very clearly all the different details on the scales. Oops, oops, oops. And on the back. You can see the scales here as well. Oh, I'm seeing a little bit still. The great part about the washes is they dry matte, but if you're seeing anything glisten, and I just did, that tells me they're still just a little bit wet, and it's not worth it to paint something that's wet. So I'm just going to adjust the side here, let you guys see a little bit. Adjusting the side, and you'll be able to see where it gets dried out on the other side here. So let the fan do its magic on the other side of the miniature, and then from there it should be pretty good looking. There you go. All right. Outstanding, guys. I'm not sure how I'm going to use this Were-crocodile. I just wanted to paint it, and they sent me a Were-crocodile. So I said, hey, this is great. I have one now. I'll paint it. So thanks, Reaper. Great looking miniature. I look forward to doing some more with it. But now I have an excuse to use a Were-crocodile. So maybe I'll use it in a place where instead of a giant alligator or giant crocodile, I'll use a Were-crocodile instead, which creates its own differences. Let's see here. How would you guys use a Were-crocodile? Yeah, sometimes you just gotta paint really cool minis, man. That's just the way it works. Totally agree. Alright, I think we're good here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that fan over there. And put this dope mini right here. Give her some more love. So now what I'm going to do is I'm using this Commando green color, which you can just barely see on my palette right here. And from there I'm going to just do a light overbrush on the scales themselves. So what you'll see is I'm going really thin with the paint, but I'm not going dry brush, and that will pick up the high points on the scales, but it won't get down there where I put the dark brown wash, and that's a very important difference and distinction, right? Boom. Alrighty. And this is pretty much called a overbrush technique. And the thing about this technique is it seems like it would take forever to do this, and if I was line highlighting each and every scale it would. And there's a time and place to do that. This is not it. What this lets me do is get those shiny, or not shiny, but brighter spots showing, and the paint does all the work because it picks up the highlights. And because the paint does the work, and because the shading and the wash already is done and is lower in the model, it never hits the lower stuff. So the darker stuff, the recesses stay darker, the higher parts get slightly brighter than the dark green that was slightly hit with the wash, and you get a great look on the miniature that matches the, well, the whole point of what you were trying to do here. And you may need to do this a couple times, but you know, if you try to do this all by hand, it would take you days to get these scales all done at the same rate. Like I said, this is not a dry brush, it's an overbrush. So, but it's not thick. So it's just the lightest overbrush. So it's enough to pick up the high points, not enough to get down into those recesses that I've already hit with the brown wash, the mid-tone, mid-brown wash. But I am going on thin. That's part of the magic, is to go thin so that it definitely doesn't get down in there. But you will see some high points that maybe have a little more brown than they should suddenly start to go away, which is also awesome. One of the tricks about scales on something that looks like a natural lizard is that going backwards actually picks up the high points and leaves the darker points a little more recessed. Hey, Moonrose87, one of our awesome supporters on Patreon, and also one of our great supporters on Twitch. Good to see you. What are you painting today, if you get a chance? As you can see, that overbrush technique continues to go real thin, and where I have to, I'll hit stuff again and again, slowly, ever so slowly, just to pull out the detail. Thin layers, little at a time, does wonders. So glad to see everybody. Again, your support fuels us and makes it awesome to be here and share this awesome hobby with all of you guys. Working, Moonrose87, working on another Kingdom Death Mini. I would be working on a dragon, but Amazon is running late because of all the weather we've had down here. Yeah, Texas. Aren't you in Texas? Actually, I think you're in Texas, aren't you, Moonrose? Remind me if you could, just to make sure I'm not completely wrong. I know you were somewhere warm. Yeah, Texas, and we were struggling. Oh, so things are starting to warm up. Is it finally gotten, you know, where it's not, you know, 30 below zero there and covered in ice? I'm only assuming that because we are seeing you again and hearing from you. We had a few people that had their pipes freeze and everything, and you know, our heart goes out to them. We were sharing secrets on how to warm stuff using candles in the pinch just to make soup, and all sorts of other little tips and tricks as we could. All right. So I don't know how well this shows, but you can see the much brighter greens now really starting to peek out, so that the look of this has the gradient. So there's still some of the dark green from the army green showing beneath the commando green, but it really does provide that look, that gradient that we're looking for a naturally crocodile or gator looking one. Let's see here. 71. Oh my gosh. You did not have pipes freeze. You were without power for a bit though. Yeah, I can only imagine. I can only imagine. Back to 71 degrees. That's awesome to hear. Hopefully the snow and ice is melting very, very quickly if it's not already gone. I know I was worried for about so many of you guys. Let's see here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to look at brightening up a little bit on the underbelly. Same kind of thing we just did on the scales, we're going to do on the underbelly. For that, we're going to use a little bit of this color called Moon Dust. And, ooh, I need to shake this up a little bit. Moon Dust is a bright, bright yellow. Kind of looks like, if you use it in combination with Basilisk Brown correctly, it can look a lot like the underbelly of a crocodile or a snake, for example, for a highlighted part. Now remember, because yellows are so finicky, I'm gonna go backwards to make sure I'm hitting the high points and letting the natural gradient go. I'm gonna mix this really good. Again, we're doing a light overbrush technique. Our goal is to keep plenty of those darker colors showing and have this be on the high points that everyone can see on those scales. So, was it hard to paint with your teeth chattering, Moonrose 87? I'm just messing with you a little bit. You can already see the difference. As we do this, and I have to invert this and do the magic here this way so you guys can see it. Also gives me a better angle so I can see it. Again, I go very thin. I'm not going heavy on this at all. I'm going very thin with this. And I'm also being careful not to get it on the dark green spots, at least right now. There may be some areas where we put some of that flecking in, but this is not it right now. Talking about miniatures, those new ones from Warhammer Quest look so clean. You know, they do. If you've got a link, or if you've got any of them that you can show from Instagram, Instagram is okay to link in chat. You can look at them all as a group if you want. So, shoot, I gotta get to the other side here. So now you can see the detail on the belly like you couldn't before. You can see every little wrinkle in that belly. And that is the magic that when you first start out can be hard to understand in terms of the technique and how it works. But what you learn is that the overbrush and the layering up from the dark green to the dark brown wash, or excuse me, the dark green to the basilisk brown, the dark brown wash, and then going at it again with another lighter color will really pull out those details that don't show up until that one step. So you can see it in action right now, right here, as we do it. And again, this is not a dry brush, this is an overbrush. I'm just going a little bit heavy. Well, not heavy, light with it, to get the effect that I want. And to kind of remind everybody where all this came from in the first place. 1 second here. This is what we went to find what we were looking at for the crocodile itself, and to get a good look at what we wanted to find that matched up. This is a really good shot. You can see the underbelly right here, the lighter color. You can see the inside of the mouth, you can see the teeth, and you can see how the scales actually have different colors as they go up. So what I will be doing, as was mentioned before, is I will be providing some speckling by continuing this light brushing across a few of these scales on the way up. So as I go, I'm not just hitting one or two. I'm hitting a few of these scales in a not completely random pattern, but enough that they show underneath for this particular creature. So you'll see that also start to show as well. And this will kind of create that cool yellowed fleck you see on alligators, as well as the occasional croc as well. And then just to pick up the high points on these ridges on their back, I'm also going to hit some of those with this as well. Just these spines that stick up, I'm going to hit the front edge so that they peak just a little bit more. You don't have to go full ham to get this effect. A little bit works. Just a little bit along the edges. That's the top front edge that I hit. I got a little bit heavy on that, so I'm going to tone it back down a notch. And some of these right here, I got to make sure I go really thin because I don't want anything to accidentally get into the edges between these. But ooh, hit these as well. All right, and now just a little bit along the top, just a smidge. Just a smidge, and you'll really see this start to pop out with that same yellow. Again, this is moon dust, but moon dust really thin with commando green and army green underneath it. It'll look more green, but just brighter along the edges. Very thin, just a quick once over, just to get those extremely high details. Again, not a dry brush, just an extremely light overbrush. I had one spot going a little bit thicker than I wanted. I had to tone it down. Let's see here. Purple pants. Is he even wearing pants? No, this one does not have pants. He's quite comfortable in his pantsless state, hunting the bayous of his native land. He's Donald Ducking it. slightly heavier brush to apply to the teeth. The goal here is not to get the teeth perfectly, but to get a layer onto the sharper bits so that they can be spotted. And we hit it with another layer here shortly. And there we go. And then we're going to go really heavy on the inside here. With some more of the same yellow color. And then we're going to go whiter inside because we saw some pink like look inside the mouth. But for artistic sake, we're going to go a little more purple for the tongue, a little more reddish purple for the tongue. And just to make it pop a little more from the rest of the beast here. Was it one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles where they had a gator with purple pants? I forget which comic book had that. Leatherhead. Yeah, thanks, Ninju. Hey, Ninju, 36. How the hell are you? Good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. What you been working on? Okay, so from where we started with that dark green, you can now see all the scales showing up. You can see the detail on the belly, and I mean really see the detail, every wrinkly bit under there, right? And then also, you can see how the mouth is looking a little bit odd right now along with the eyes. Don't worry, just like the belly and the other parts, you're going to see this stuff start to blend in. So there's a little bit on here under the jawline here that looks a little bit more basilisk brown than I needed to. I need to pull that back in a little bit. Same with right here, up here. I knew this was going to be a little bit of a process. It's just part of how it works. Ninja 36. So far, you know, it's been really rough. You know, everything is what it is, but you know, we've hung in there. if the whole world has gone through Spanish flu and a whole bunch of other pandemics, I think we can make it through this one, and we certainly have a lot better ways to communicate remotely and still hang out with our friends meaningfully, which is certainly better than it was before the last pandemic in the 1800s, or the late 1900s, early 1900s, sorry. The light at the end of the tunnel is there, my friends. Hang in there. It's going to get better. There we go. So you can see all those details now that you couldn't before. So now that the scales are done, the underbelly's done, actually I got just a smidge more, one more section I can do here on the upper shoulders. But right after this, we're really going to look at the mouth and the eyes. Okay, that's done. So now for the mouth and the eyes. So I'm going to use a color called Brain Matter Beige to finish up some of the mouth, and to kind of show you why I'm using that. Actually, you know what? Maybe I won't. There is another color that has a slight pink to it. Here it is. Mummy Robes. I should have known. Mummy Robes is a fantastic choice because it does have a hint of pink in it. And I don't know why, or a hint of red mixed in. So I don't know why it's like that. It just is. This is going to take some heavy mixing. I think it's been settled for a little bit. So, what else are we working on today? So, we talked a little bit about brushes earlier and what everybody was using. Does anybody else use anything besides the Army Painter brushes? Or Games Workshop brushes? Just curious what everybody's using out there. Oopsie. Oh, that came out real thick. Winsor and Newton. Yeah, Winsor makes good brushes. Newton makes good brushes. They are well known. I may or may not have a... No, that's an AK. By the way, AK also makes pretty good brushes if you haven't used them as well. Let's see here. So, mummy robes. That is one of the things that's handy about this, is if I need to, I can go completely sideways, upside down, whatever, and it still holds it good, and I can get the angle I need. Remember, move the miniature to your brush. Keep your brush in the position that's comfortable for you, and your painting will go a lot easier. If you find that you are constantly having to change your brush position in a way that's not comfortable or that causes mistakes, definitely consider making yourself one of these handy things. Paint a miniature holder. I'm getting the inside of the mouth here because the mouths on crocs and gators actually have this little pink part that shows up when they open up really wide. I'm making sure it shows. Alright, trying those brushes today. Sounds awesome, Moonrose. What are you painting with them? Oops, sorry guys. All right. While I'm waiting on that, I am going to use a soft tone on the eyes. Now, I used a little bit of the moon dust on the eyes as well over the initial batch of desert yellow on the eyes, and that's brightened the eyes up a little bit. But now I want to take it down, but I also want to fill in the shading, so I'm going to go with a thin wash in the eye socket. And usually, because they have the eyes pulled out on this model, that means that the ball of the eye will remain bright comparative to the recesses on this model, which will get darker. which will allow that light on that eye to get on the high points on the little orb that they pushed out on the model to stay bright. You can already see a difference right there, for example. It really isn't showing it as well, but it is there. And the next step will be just a tiny dot of something at the high point of the miniature itself. At least at the eyeball. There we go. The reason I use soft tone as opposed to the mid-tone brown in that is the soft tone is more of a chestnut color. So it's just a smidge of brown in there, but it's not like the mid-brown tone. All right. Next up, we are going to use Centaur Skin, which is a very, very, very bright pink for the tongue itself. We're leaving the rest of the inside white, and the reason we're doing this, as we'll show here on an example where I can show the mouth. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I don't have any pictures there. I can show the tongue. These things don't really stick their tongue out the same way. There we go. Actually, these are pretty disgusting. Hold on a second here. Here we go. We'll pull this up here for you guys to see. And there you go. You can see the inside of the tongue. A little bit of pink, but this thing has been eating a lot of foul stuff. I have no idea what it's been eating, but it definitely isn't pretty. Would you eat anything like this? By the way, alligator is delicious if you haven't had any. Just saying. Switching back over. Now I'm going in real slow, real steady to get in there. You know, if any creature is going to have a Heward's handy spice pouch full of Cajun seasonings, it's going to be this guy. There we go. And there's the tongue. Now, to get those dark splotches, you've had camel? Oh man, camel tastes a lot like bacon, believe it or not. At least the piece I had did. Let's see here. To get those dark spots, I'm actually going to use, believe it or not, I'm going to use Dark Town to get the inside really, really, well, splotchy. But I'm not going to use a lot. Just a smidge. Just a smidge. Smidge will do you. That's all you really need. And that's how fast that dried out. So first I'm going to hit the roof of the mouth, just to make sure that all those nice clean areas look pretty foul. Then I'm going to hit the surrounding areas, but not the tongue itself just yet. I'm getting the grooves along the lines. I'm also trying to be careful not to hit the actual teeth themselves. I still want those to show up really nasty. Now I'm hitting the tongue itself. Not trying to cover it completely, just get some in there so that the groove shows, but because of those black splashes from before, I definitely want to make sure it's toned down. Now my goal was always to be a little brighter than it needed to be so that I could tone it down with a wash, and it looks like I succeeded. As it dries, it will continue to tone down even more, but it will definitely have the look that we're going for there. There we go. I'm going to give that a minute to dry because, as you know, as we've already shown, washes take a little while. Where did you have camel, Naceris? That's awesome. I'd love to hear more about that. Again, our paint plans are on Patreon, so if you go to Patreon and check out the Games Tavern, you'll find our paint plans for most of the miniatures we paint. We're still getting caught up on some of the stuff we started painting a while back and getting the paint plans up for that. So please check that out when you get a chance. The miniatures and models tier specifically supports this show and the needs for this show, so your support to that actually supports this show. If you're on the Noble or the Royal Patron, that also supports this show, but we have tiers engineered to help you support the stuff you like most as well on our Patreon as well, so give it a chance when you get a chance. Let's see here, what kind of a long story. My roommate got it as a gift from one of her work friends. Okay, you know, hey, that's cool. No complaints about that. You know, getting camel as a gift is a rare event in most people's homes, so finally I'm going to do a little bit of work on the nails of this particular beast. I am going to start with a desert yellow and work my way up to a brain matter beige probably, and actually, we'll just start right there where I already have some. And just get all the claws on the feet and the hands there. How I got it is much less interesting than the actual meat itself. Yeah, that's usually how it works. What'd you think? Okay, cool, cool. So you put up the link in the Discord. If you're not on the Discord already, you can join our Discord by hitting that link that's in chat. And you can see what Naceris has just posted up. The Games Tavern Discord is a great community of people from all over the world that love tabletop games, miniatures, making, and cosplay. And there's probably something for your nerdy love in there somewhere. And if there isn't, just ask for it in the tech support channel, and chances are one of the mods will set that channel up for you. There's also lots of actual tabletop gameplay going on there, which is always cool. And if you're a dungeon master or a group that's looking for a place that will allow you to play online with your friends from all over the world, it's a great place to do it. And it's also a pretty cool place to find other people to play games with you. We've had more than a few groups form from different people on the server that had never met before but started playing together, and now they're friends and having a ball. Wow. Thought I got some paint on my sleeve for a brief moment. It's okay if I get a little on the ground area around it. It's perfectly okay because I'll be hitting that with some paint specific for the base anyway. Knowing where you can go fast and make some mistakes on the ground like this will actually expedite your paint, and you'll learn, how to go faster and not sweat some of the small stuff sometimes. Those panic points just aren't necessary most of the time. There are times to panic. This is not one of them. All right. All right. Next up, I'm going to use what's called Brain Matter Beige. You know what? Yeah, I'm going to use a little Brain Matter Beige. And what I'm going to do is just a smidge of it. What I'm going to do is, when it's shaken up, Ralph, I'm going to use it to add a little bit of highlight on the edge of the claws themselves. She made it a chili, so it's hard to get a sense of the meat's flavor itself, but it was good. You think she made it into a chili just to make it easier for you to not panic over it? Or did she tell you after she made it as a chili? Let's see here. Use your hand as a palette constantly. I don't use my hand as a palette as much as I use my hand as a place sometimes. Like I'll use the back of my hand here to do when I'm doing dry brushing and stuff like that. But I think it's interesting that you use your hand as a palette. I've seen some painters who do extremely high detail. The back of their thumbnail gets used as a palette for extremely detail oriented stuff. Because then they can just, you know, as they're going, they just touch the back of their nail and then continue to work the model as they go. So they can just touch and go. The idea here is to just pull some brightness on the nails themselves so you can see them now a little bit better, right? But not so much that it takes away from the darker tones below. Alright. And that takes care of the claws, which now show up there, or at least the hands. Now I gotta do the feet. Gotta go extra slow this time around because you do not want this to come off. You want it to taper toward the tip. There we go. And it's done. On that. Get a little bit on these teeth. Just to brighten them up a notch. Done. And now the final touch, I'm going to use the Brain Matter Beige as opposed to straight up white. And what I'm going to do is you can now see the eye is dotted just slightly if it gets the detail in this camera here. So as it looks at you, maybe I could get some more light on this thing at some point. Thin lines. She told me. Hey, look, what do we got here? Seeing a lot of chat here. It's made chili. It was hard to get. Yeah. It kind of defeats the point to get something like camel and then cook it in such a way you can't really figure out what it tastes like. Yeah, I agree. I agree, but she really didn't know. She told me before. Oh, okay, cool. Use thumbnail for thin lines and check glaze consistently. Well, you know, hey, that works. That works. It's a good way to check glaze, too. And at this point, we are pretty much done with our crocodile, or Were-crocodile slash gator. At this point, I'm just going to do some light work on the base. I'm going to use a little bit of, I think I'm going to use some monster brown for the base, and then from there I may or may not hit some bleached bone to hit some highlights, but I don't want to do too much. Just a little bit. Oops. It needs some shaking. Yeah, it is looking good. It's a pretty solid mini at this point. Getting those details in really added to the stuff. And you know, there's not a lot of craziness to do this. It's just letting the paint work its magic. Alright, going with Monster Brown here. Here we go. This is the kind of miniature that I like enough that I might actually add like tiny leaves and stuff to the base from like swamp plants, stuff like that, and I am considering it. Let's see here. Switching over music a little bit for you guys. Let's get a little Viking action going. I'm going to let that dry for a minute. I'll hit it with another coat. And I'll probably hit it with a dark brown wash. Or something to that effect. Whew. So, we had some good conversation today about camel. We talked about different factors on other things like brushes. And we demonstrated a whole bunch of stuff on how to paint this glorious looking beast. Which I am going to set down right there. And hopefully you guys can see it. Hold on a second here. There it is. I do need to get a light that'll hit this thing better. But it is a great looking mini. And you can see all the details on the skull on the back of this. I think, to be honest with you, the other camera shows it better. So let me put it back on here and then switch back over. Yeah, that shows it way better right now. So you can see all the little details right here on this beautiful thing. And including the splotches on the belly, the tongue, the teeth, the scales. That's just a quick, easy way to paint it up and get it to a high standard. Oh yeah, the underside of the tail is really good, and the best part about it is it was done in like 20 minutes. You know, you prime it, you hit it with that basilisk brown, then you hit it again with the desert yellow, or excuse me, the basilisk brown. You hit it with that mid-tone brown wash, and then you hit it with that desert yellow just to tone it up a notch, and then just a very, very light amount of that moon dust on the edges. And you're good to go. You know, and consistency of color across the board. It shows, you can see all the wrinkles in his gut. Mm-hmm. And you can see how the various different edges, as the model moves, you can see the edges of the scales across the model, because you know, we had those different shades of green hit it, which really did a good job between the army green, the commando green, and then later on a very light hit of moon dust. Really pops, all of them. And then you can see the top edges here, you know, all along these little rough edges. You can see the various different ridge lines. Let's see if I can get it to show there. Actually peak up, because the front edges of those ridge lines have all been hit by that moon dust as well. Hey Neophet3, good to see you. How the hell are you, man? We're painting a Were-crocodile from Reaper, and we're almost done with it. We're just doing the base now. So we were just admiring how much it's done in the 2.5 hours that we've worked on it so far. Letting the base dry just a smidge. Thanks Neophet. That's really nice of you to say. It looks nice. Are you working on anything? Happy to talk to everybody on anything they want to talk about paint-wise as well. Yeah, 2.5 hours is all it took. Yeah. I went through 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 colors total, 3 different washes, and that's all it really takes to do this. Never Ending Codex. Oh my gosh, great to have you on, man. Thanks for saying hi. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate seeing you. How the heck are you? Hey, no problem, no problem. You know, I have a bear miniature. I'll go get it real quick. I'll show it to you, and I'll talk you through how I did it. We've got a few minutes before this base dries. Let me go grab the bear miniature, and I'll show you. It's actually a Were-bear, so it works the same way. Hold on one second. I'll go grab it for you. Actually, I got it right here. I don't need to go do anything. So you can see the miniature right here. You can see all the detail. See that he even did little face tattoos on this guy. But the miniature itself was easy to do. Pretty streamlined in terms of how we did this one. So we started this one with a monster brown, and then from there we hit it with a mid-tone brown wash, and then from there we did the nose and the insides of the ears, and we were done. It's really that simple. If I need to get into the claws and stuff on that, I would do the same thing I did on the Were-crocodile. No, not an owlbear. Oh, hey, Rohita, or Rochia. I hope I'm not butchering your name. It's good to see you. I know I see you in our Discord all the time. And oh my gosh, everybody's here from the Games Tavern Discord. Thanks so much, guys, for coming out. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the support. You've made my day. But aren't you, Rochia? Aren't you Panda Rochia or Buckets Rochia? You're Buckets Rochia. Yeah, it's the everybody's Buckets over there. I love that. You have a game where buckets feature in the game, come hell or high water, and I love that you guys have some theming over there. Again, getting back onto the base of this. So bears should not ever spook you. They're actually very forgiving. The Army Painter paints and washes are instant talent in a bottle. If you ever have any problems with that, just hit me up in Miniatures channel on the Games Tavern Discord. Ask your questions there, or you can hit me up in the live show, That Minis Paint Show channel, and ask your questions there, and we'll walk you through it. It wouldn't be the first time somebody's asked me a question in the Discord, and I've done a show on it, just to show people how to do it. So... here we go. Goddess of Buckets, there you are. One of these days, you'll have to tell me how bad I'm mispronouncing that name. I promise you, I would prefer to pronounce it correctly. So, probably each of the PCs currently has a bucket attached to their backpacks. Because, you know, having a bucket means you always have a place you can wash your face. You always have a place you can bail a boat. You always have a place you can put out a fire. The use of buckets is endless. Just endless. Rotia. Okay, it is Rotia. Thank you. Thank you for explaining that to me. I do appreciate it. Switching back here, taking another look. The base is now mostly done. We're going to hit the base with a wash. What I will probably wind up doing is placing this beast on one of these bases right here, locking it down, and then adding more basing to it whatsoever. What do I need to store sculpting putty in an airtight container? Is it already mixed? Is the sculpting putty like a two-color sculpting putty? You just opened it? Is it like the two-part yellow and blue, and you knead it together and it becomes green, or is it the brown stuff or the gray stuff? Which one is it? Or is it something else entirely? Like Sculpey. Not mixed yet. If it's not mixed, yeah, you don't need to be in an airtight container, but you do want to keep it clean. I mean, I've got Necrotic that's probably a few years old that still works. That's in a relatively airtight container. The biggest thing is making sure you mix it. Yeah, green stuff, yellow and blue. Okay, so you're using green stuff. Yeah, the big thing is if once it's mixed, it's going to turn hard as a rock within a few hours, regardless. So just make sure you get it. The other thing is once you've mixed it, set it aside for about 10 minutes. 5-10 minutes after you've got it really kneaded and green, and then work on it from after that, because then it'll be at a consistency you can work it, and then once it's there, it's good. If you do it right after while it's real green, and it'll actually get warm because there's a chemical reaction going on there as part of that. But if you do it too early, it's going to give too much, and it won't give you enough resistance to really get a good sculpt and detail in there. If you guys want, we can talk about doing a little minor sculpting class and discuss that sometime, either on the Discord or on this show. So just hit me up and let me know in the Discord anytime. So let's see here. Oh, if you're not following us on social media, definitely follow the Games Tavern on social media. Check us out on the Games Tavern on Twitter, the Games Tavern on Instagram, and look up the Games Tavern on Facebook. And on Patreon as well. You guys have made my day. I'm so excited to see you guys in chat. I can't believe all of you guys came out. I really do appreciate it. Love the support. Let's see here. I'm going to pull out my magic tech goblin fan that Richard made for me. This fan helps me get these things dried faster. Candlestick Library, late to the party. Definitely glad to be here. We're painting up a Were-crocodile right now. We're 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 40 minutes in. We're about done for the night. Just wrapping up the base on it now. I'll show it off here in just a little bit. I'm so excited to see so many great folks from the Games Tavern showing up and supporting me tonight. Glad to have you guys on. If you guys don't know, the Games, That Minis Paint Show is on every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Central. And always excited to have you guys come out and support on a Sunday. Every week we paint a miniature. Sometimes we have amazing guests who are also great painters. We've had Chet, who's one of our tech goblins as well. He's actually probably he's now quickly becoming our top tech goblin. He is also a prolific painter. We've had Dwight from Big Bearded Nerd, and we've had my good friend Drew from 1 Inch Heroes on, and we will probably definitely have them back on, and we're also getting some other friends to come on and paint with us as well. Candlestick Library, are you painting any miniatures right now, or are you just hanging out, or what are we working on today? Alright, so showing it off one more time so you guys can see it. Really did a good job, I think, picking up the scales, getting the ugliness and all the wrinkles in the belly showing, as well as the splotchiness inside the mouth, as well as on the belly, the way they are based on the pictures as well. To kind of give you an example of what we're talking about, we'll show the picture one more time of some of the stuff we've looked at. So this is kind of like one of the examples of what these crocodiles look like. You can see inside the mouth. They're a pretty foul creature, to say the least. In terms of they'll eat anything, just about. You know, they don't have any issues with chewing up stuff and getting a good look at it. So there's a smaller, younger one. You can take a look at here. Lots of good teeth. The mouth is kind of a whitish color, and we tried to emulate that as well. If you take a look here, oops, let me get the right camera up. We got the inside with the whiteness that has the same kind of look there. But we did take some liberties with the tongue. The tongues on these creatures tend to be a little more, on real crocodiles, this is a Were-crocodile, it's obviously not real, tends to be a little more white, but because it's a Were-crocodile, and because a little hint of color doesn't hurt, we went ahead and made the tongue a bit pink and then added some black splotchiness from using a dark tone wash. That also let us go ahead and just get some of the inner recesses of the mouth and get that splotchiness in there as well. And we think that created some of the look we're looking for. On the underbelly with the washes, doing a lot of the effects, and then some hot, two different layers of color for the overbrush highlights. Really just took care of it in no time flat. We were probably, outside of the basing, done with this thing in under 2.5 hours. With the basing, we'll probably be done in 3 tops. Let's see here. Since that base is dry, or about to be, I'm about to remove this beautiful miniature from my paint stick. I'm going to place it on here. One of the cool products that I use that allows me to do stuff quickly is a product called Plastruck Plastic Weld. It's one of the sneaky little tricks of the trade for some of the pros out here. I actually discovered it after I had opened a hobby shop of my own at one point in time. And unfortunately we had to shut it down, but we still use this amazing product, and watch how fast it works. Oh, it dried before I got it done. This stuff is so fast, and it will melt just about anything. It's a fantastic product. One second here. All right, there we go. I'm going to give that just a minute. And, most plastic cements take a little while before they seal up. This doesn't. That's how fast it works. It's literally done. Like, it's not coming off anytime soon. So that is one of the things that we use. And again, that product is called Plastruck Plastic Weld. This stuff is like an instant weld. It works extremely quickly. So you got to make sure that you use it right away. And you can do tiny pieces with it too. You just touch it and then touch the other pieces together and it's done. So you do need to have a firm hand when you use it. And on top of that, you also need to make sure that, you're using it quickly, but also when you're done with it, you need to make sure you close the top of this. If the top on this is not closed, it will evaporate so quickly, it's not funny. And I've literally put it on a pallet just to demonstrate it when I was demonstrating it in the shop and said, here, look, I put it on the pallet and it evaporates in under 15 seconds to 30 seconds tops. It's gone. Completely evaporates. So definitely a cool product to check out. Let's see here. All right. If you have any last minute questions, now's the time to ask. We're wrapping up for the night. Thank you so much for all the support. Guys, you have absolutely made my day. Thank you for following the Games Tavern, and thank you for being a part of the bigger community. It's huge to know that all of you guys came out. I'm so happy to see all of you guys. Again, this paint plan will be on the Games Tavern Patreon probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks. We typically take a little bit longer. We're also going through the backlog of the past show episodes and getting some of those up too. But we do try to get 1 or 2 up per month. So you can paint the miniatures that we paint on the show using the exact same colors, paints, brushes. You understand everything that we're doing. And then we also link the video so it's handy for you too. And then, of course, your comments mean the world to me too. So by all means, hit me up on Discord. If you are a skilled painter and stuff, and you want to show off your paints and everything else that you do with it, we'd love to see them. Please post them in the miniatures channel and make sure you put your Twitter or your Instagram address on there, your handle, so that we have attribution, and we will show those miniatures during the show, sometimes during our breaks, as well as if it's the right genre and it matches, we'll also show those during our live play show breaks as well. So miniatures from all sorts of people in the community have been shown there, and then people can find out who painted it and find you guys and follow you on social media as well. We're all about helping the community. Naceris, you are plenty skilled. Give yourself some credit. Even if you don't think you're skilled, chances are most of you are a lot better than you think you are. I promise. And you know, the one thing is you know, if you paint a little bit every week, you'll get better a little every week, and that's what matters. That is an absolutely gorgeous model. I'm hoping to get some photography on this one here shortly. So let's see. Do I have any nifty tufts? I don't have any tufts yet. If I find some tufts, what I'll do is I'll when I do the finishing touches on this thing off screen the next day or two, what I'll do is I'll post it with the finishing touches on there too and explain how I did that in the Patreon stuff. Hey Division, thank you for following us today. Glad to see you. Feel free to talk to you, everybody here, and great to have you out here supporting and following with us too. The more the merrier, I say. Man, oh man. Whew. All right, gang. I'm not seeing any questions, so thank you so much for hanging out tonight. I'll see you guys next week, Sundays at 5 p.m. on That Minis Paint Show. And also don't forget, Tuesday we've got the Games Tavern Happy Hour, and Wednesday the Velkin Weave, and then Friday we've got Community Movie Night on the Games Tavern Discord, and then Saturday we've got the next episode of Dark Days and Mole Masters. So be sure and check it out and hang out with us. All right, guys. Thank you so much for a wonderful night. Take care, everyone, and talk to you again next week.